What up, guys? Your boy Quake back with a brand new episode of the Diverse Mentality Podcast, number 364. And we got a long episode for you guys. I got the game yelling at me because I'm talking about album sales. We're going to talk about that a little bit later. Lloyd Banks, Halloween Havoc 6 album review. I apologize for not being able to go live to actually listen to the album, to be honest with you. I've been sleeping a lot earlier. So for me now, staying up till 12:30 just to listen to an album, because it didn't come out exactly at 12. I know Banks had it released like at 12:15, 12:20, something like that. I just been on this schedule and I want to stay on it. So that was one of the reasons I didn't want to go live. Two, I was having some live issues as I was trying to, plan it out. And I was like, man, if I have issues going live and I stay up late, I'm going to be super pissed. So what I need to do is because even here, I think I need to get a Wi-Fi extender because my Wi-Fi is upstairs. I'm downstairs. So that might be an issue of live streaming. It might cause a little problems with the streaming. But I was having that issue. And then on top of that, it was late for me at least. I turned 30 this year. I'm not feeling old, but I just, when you get in a great rhythm and routine, you don't really want to fuck that up for really anything. I even had a friend hit me up to hang out. And I was like, I'm not staying past like 11, bro. And he was like, that's never like you, blah, blah, blah. What's going on? I'm like, I have this whoop on my arm. I don't know if you guys ever noticed. I got this probably on my arm, I want to say 2 months ago, maybe 3 months ago. And this gives me like stats about how I'm sleeping. It's basically like a game, right? Of how you're recovering and, with your sleep and all this stuff. And I hate when I see it at red or at yellow because that tells me I didn't get great recovery when I'm sleeping. And that's important to me, my health, especially with that, what happened with my dad earlier this year of him dying of lung cancer. I'm very, very even more adamant about my health. And I want to make sure I, work out, get my, routine going and, not messing that up for really anything. So I don't know if I'll do live streams late at night like that again. I don't know. It'll be something that I'll have to really think about because I really do them just to kick it with you guys. I really, live streaming isn't something that I've ever been interested in. I think it takes way too much time, energy, effort for really, no disrespect to live streamers when I say this, but it's really subpar content. It's really nothing. You're just sitting in front of a computer talking to people, and it doesn't take much effort in terms of putting out a product. It takes effort in terms of being in front of the camera and keeping it interesting. Of course, it's not an easy thing to do, but the product itself is very subpar. It's very minimal. It's just you in front of a camera, you going over things. So the live streaming aspect, I know it's picked up, in the past, 5 years, a lot. I've just never really been a huge fan of it. I could really, really care less about it. I'm interested in documentaries. I'm interested in covering news, Instagram, social media, making sure I build that side of things, which I'll talk about later of, the game, having his words towards me, or I think towards the comments. I'll have to, talk to you guys about that and see what you guys think. But yeah, my focus has been different things, and live streaming is something that I was thinking about for certain times, and it might be something I'll do in the future. I'm not saying I'm never going to do it ever again. It's not my focus at all right now. That's the last thing I'm thinking about. But yeah, let's go over the news. There's a lot of interesting things that happened, and then I'm going to talk about the game getting mad at me for talking about his album sales, which is it's just ridiculous because Snoop Dogg was, happy about it. So game was total opposite, which was interesting. And then we'll talk about the Lloyd Banks Halloween Havoc. I'll review that. And then I was going to review the Big L album, but I want to separate that for the next podcast episode because that's too much reviews. And I sat more with the Lloyd Banks project than I did with the Big L one. So I will do that the next episode. But let's go over the news. BG revealed why Lil Wayne wasn't at the Cash Money No Limit Versus. And what he said was very interesting because I had no idea about this. So let's play the clip.
Why wasn't Wayne there? That's the question everybody wants.
I talked to Wayne yesterday, man, and I talked to Wayne the morning before, right? You know what I mean? The morning before the verses, and Shorty wasn't feeling good, man. You know what I mean? So because he had a concert at Dre's the same night, and he canceled that as well. You know what I mean? And Swiss was, even hurt behind it, right? You know what I mean? Because for real, that's the reason Swiss pulled the trigger on it. You know what I mean? Because Wayne, you know, agreed.
I heard Wayne
right?
orchestrated the whole thing.
You know what I'm saying? Yeah, like, come on. I mean, you know, Shorty, you know what I'm saying? Like, Shorty, you know, Shorty, he muscle, right? You know what I'm saying? He got muscle, right? So, but, yeah, man, I think it was, you know, Shorty wasn't feeling good because he definitely was supposed to be there. You know what I mean? So, you know, he told me that, you know, he wasn't feeling good and, you know, he had to go to the hospital or something like that. You know what I mean? So, you know, people be thinking that it was, you know, whatever. But at the end of the day, like I told him, man, we ain't spring chickens no more, man. You know what I mean? So, you know, you got to make sure, man, your health and, you know what I'm saying, in order and, you know, get your rest, man. You've been running 35 years strong.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So you got to make sure, you know, you get your rest and, you know, make sure, you know what I'm saying, that your, you know, body and health just all the way intact or whatever. But yeah, it was, I think that was the reason that, you know, Shorty wasn't there. He was dealing with some personal issues.
And we'll get to see Wayne on the tour.
Huh?
If the tour happens with No Limit, Cash Money, we'll get to see Wayne.
I mean, you know, I can't answer that. You know what I mean? Like, I really can't answer that. You know what I'm saying? Like, you know, Shorty be on what Shorty be on. You know what I'm saying? So, you know, I would love to see him out there with us, you know what I'm saying, and on the tour. And, you know, I don't think, you know, that Shorty will turn on, you know, the bag that's on the table. But then, you know, they already rich forever. You feel what I mean? I'm playing catch up. You know what I'm saying? So, you know, I'm trying to clock it all. You know what I'm saying? But, yeah, man, we'll see. We'll see.
There it is. It turns out Lil Wayne wasn't feeling good, and he actually got checked into the hospital. He didn't perform at Drea's, which is that Las Vegas or Los Angeles, wherever that area is at. It's like a club event. So he didn't perform there and didn't show up at the VERZUZ, which obviously even BG mentioned Swizz was really, that's the reason why he set up the Cash Money No Limit, is because getting Lil Wayne there would obviously bring a bigger audience of people watching. Getting Lil Wayne to go to a VERZUZ is a big deal. And that's the thing with this VERZUZ thing. It's going to be very hard for them to convince artists of a level of Lil Wayne, Jay-Z, Drake, Kanye West, 50 Cent, Eminem, you know, those top tier artists to actually do a VERZUZ. Because what is the benefit to them of doing a VERZUZ other than just, you know, having a moment in hip hop, which they've had millions of moments in hip hop. To them, it's like not a big deal. Would they do it for money? I mean, not really. Eminem's been offered to tour hundreds of millions of dollars, never toured, didn't care. Jay-Z's a billionaire. Highly doubt he cares. 50's well. A lot of these artists at the top tier, they're well off. Money is like not the reason they would do any of this stuff. It just wouldn't matter to them. Whether they're getting paid or not for it, doesn't matter to them. Doing it would potentially hurt their legacy more than help. Because let's just say Jay-Z did one with Eminem. Let's just say that happened. You know, whoever, like, if somebody clearly won in that VERZUZ, that would harm the other person's legacy. And at that point, they're not looking to harm legacies. They're not looking to do anything to their brand that's going to ruin their legacy, which is unfortunate, but they see it that way, which I understand. I understand that aspect. So getting Lil Wayne to try to go there and approve it, and they did that, and Wayne didn't show up, that really sucks, because I really expected Wayne to show up. I mean, Snoop Dogg was there, so it would have been really cool to have Lil Wayne pop up and do his thing. But, hey, man, it is what it is. He was sick. A tour with Cash Money would be crazy. I would attend that. I would love to see a Cash Money tour. That's something that I would attend. I haven't been to a concert in a long time, so I would attend that, like, no problem at all. But yeah, it has to make sense money-wise for Lil Wayne too, because Lil Wayne's at a different level, man. BG obviously is going to accept any tour. Not to say that he's broke or anything, because BG, I'm sure, is well off in terms of like regular people. Of course, he's at least makes $2 to $3 million a year easily. But to do tours, you know, of that stature, we have to do a lot of, you know, traveling and stuff. Lil Wayne would have to get paid handsomely, like a very good amount of money, because tours are strenuous work. It's not easy. I don't know how 50 has the energy to do it, traveling all over the world at his age of 50 years old. It's really ridiculous. It's insane. That's what happened with the VERZUZ. That's why he didn't show up. Sucks to suck, but it is what it is. I can't wait for the next VERZUZ. I hope it's something really cool and interesting. But yeah, just imagine like a Drake, against Kanye or I don't know, man, the big artists. That would be insane, man. That would be the numbers because they actually revealed the numbers on the Cash Money and No Limit. I think they did 8.5 million like impressions and I don't know what it was, but they did good numbers, like very good numbers. So imagine those, like, my God, I think so. If Jay-Z, let's say Jay-Z and Eminem, let's just throw some of the biggest names in hip hop, Jay-Z and Eminem. That numbers would easily be like 30, 40 million. I think the world would tune in, period. It wouldn't just be a local. The world would tune in and it would, I can imagine social media. I just cannot imagine social media. That would be like a pay-per-view. Like I would legitimately pay $20, $30 to watch a pay-per-view of that. I'm not saying that right now they're offering it for free, essentially. If you have Apple Music, you get it essentially for free, and then you get it on Complex or whatever, Instagrams that they're live streaming it on. So technically it is for free, but that would warrant, somebody paying a $20 pay-per-view, and it would have to be like in a big-ass arena because I would actually try to pay to go there in person because that is something that to see something like that in person would be a once-in-a-lifetime thing. But I could only dream, Regardless, sucks that Wayne wasn't there, but that's the reason why. So shout out to BG. And shout out to Charlamagne for asking that question. Shout out to BG for addressing it. I know the Joe Budden podcast they had something to say about there's issues between Birdman and Lil Wayne, and Wayne didn't want to. That clearly BG shut that down with this answer. Updates on the Foolio murder case. A suspect has been found guilty on lesser charges. So let's go over this. Alyssa Andrews stood accused of following Foolio across multiple places, along with 4 other co-defendants before they allegedly murdered him. There are 5 suspects in the Foolio murder case, 4 of which might face the death penalty in Florida if their trials result in a conviction. But the other co-defendant, Alicia Andrews, already had her trial first due to her specific charges, and Complex reports that the court came to a quick decision about her alleged role. Following 8 days of trial and few hours of juror discussion, the court reportedly found her guilty of manslaughter on Friday, October 31st. This is a lesser offense than the first-degree murder charge Andrews originally faced and also includes a not guilty verdict on conspiracy to commit murder. The specific accusations against her were that she allegedly trailed the Florida rapper along with other co-defendants before they allegedly murdered him. Alicia Andrews stood up for herself in court during her trial, claiming that her boyfriend and co-defendant Isaiah Chance's domestic abuse of her pressured her into this plot. The judge in this case reportedly blocked her efforts to introduce evidence of domestic violence from Chance in court. Andrews faced a maximum sentence of life in prison if the court found her guilty on the prosecutor's most serious charges against her. She is the only co-defendant in this case who prosecutors are not accusing of being a member of the 2 rival gangs at the heart of these trials. The murder of Foolio following years of beef between tension of Young and Ace and many other rappers, specifically those affiliated with ATK. Yeah, this will face trial, so they're going to face trial with other people. Meanwhile, Alicia Andrews will reportedly receive her prison sentence for this conviction on Monday, December 8th. If everything goes according to the current schedule, we will see how it shapes up, especially when compared to the other verdicts. Yeah. I don't know what you get in terms of what does she get charged for? Manslaughter. Let me see. What do you get? This is in Florida, right? I could be wrong. I literally read this is in Florida. I'm tripping. In Florida, maximum prison time for manslaughter is 15 years for a second-degree felony, but it can be increased to 30 years if the crime is enhanced to an aggravated first-degree felony. So, yeah. 15 to... Did they decrease this a second degree? So, it's second degree because this is a lesser offense than the first-degree murder charge. So, yeah. So she's facing a maximum 15 years, a minimum of 9 is what I'm looking at here too. So minimum 9, maximum 15. Still sucks, terrible. But hey, stop doing dumb shit. You don't win dumb prizes. So I feel no type of I don't feel sorry for her at all. Don't get involved and don't blame it on domestic violence, which has come on, that's like a cop out. That's ridiculous. Somebody's beating the shit out of you to do something, leave the situation and tell the police. I know it's, people are going to be like, oh, but Quake, it's more complicated than that. Domestic violence people can't just go up and leave. Yeah, to certain extents, but I don't know, man. With her, it just people throw shit in to try to get out of situations as best as possible. The judge was like, fuck no, that has nothing to do with the situation. And, she got away with at least a lesser charge, because if she would have got first degree, she would have faced a maximum of 30 years, a minimum of 15. So she basically essentially shaved off 15 years of prison time. If she gets the maximum, she shaved off 15. If she doesn't get the maximum, say she gets 10, she shaved off 20. Better than serving 30 or 25 or 20, That's the update on that. And then I'm sure we're going to get trials and cases on the other people, and they're going to get way harsher sentences because they're the ones that are pulling the trigger, which obviously is going to get you way worse sentence. So we'll see what happens moving forward. Well. Drake and Adin Ross have been hit with another lawsuit. This time it is in New Mexico, so let's go over this. The class action lawsuit portfolio is growing and fast against Drake, Adin Ross, and Stake. The celebrities in the online casino are now facing 2 cases, with the latest coming from a pair of New Mexico residents. These people, along with those from Missouri, allege that Stake is running an illegal operation that's disguised as a social casino. Folks from both states claim that even while Stake claims to not permit actual gambling, is just a ruse. It's their exact words per casino bets. It's actually a virtual clone. Behind the scenes, they use dual token system in which gold coins, non-redeemable purchases award bonuses of Stake cash redeemable at a 1-to-1 USD rate. Drake and Adin Ross have been some of the biggest voices for Stake. These New Mexico residents name them in their legal filing, alleging they make millions of dollars yearly to live stream their bets on the platform. They allege this all being done to keep and draw in younger, more impressionable people. As we alluded to earlier, people in Missouri are alleging the same thing. Their class action lawsuit was filed in federal court on Monday, October 27th. The language in that filing is nearly identical to the one coming from New Mexico. Stake threatens the welfare of Missouri residents, especially its young people. Yeah, so we read this last time on the podcast, on the previous episode, I believe, or the one before that. Yeah, I don't know, man. I don't know. These lawsuits are interesting. Sometimes lawsuits just come out of nowhere. They don't mean anything. Sometimes it comes from somewhere, and it's a huge thing. They'll have to prove, their cases, both from Missouri and New Mexico. But if there's more lawsuits coming up in different states with people complaining and saying that, like, for example, let's just say somebody, where I used to live in Iowa, out of nowhere, comes with a lawsuit and says, my kid, and has proof of this, right? My kid watches Adin Ross stream a lot. Adin Ross, promoted Stake. My kid got involved with Stake out of nowhere. Ran up my credit cards. I'm in debt. I ended up going bankrupt, whatever the case may be, because my kid was too addicted to gambling because of Stake and because of Adin Ross' stream. Now, you could say, hey, the blame is a little bit on the parents for not really looking over the kid, blah, blah, blah. But, parents have to parent, and they have to, with parenting, they have to also work and provide. So, in today's climate, usually both parents work. It's you're privileged if your mother can stay at home or your father can stay at home and take care of you, every day. But most of the time, both parents work. They, have a lot to do, so they can't stay looking at the kid every single time, every second. With that being said, that can get kids involved in a lot of messed up things. And this is obviously gambling. That's one of the things that can get really messed up. So if they have, like, for example, if somebody in Iowa, a kid from Iowa, and the parents have proof that, Adin Ross or Drake manipulated this kid into doing this stuff, basically, because he watches them, then, you got a huge problem on your hands, because there's going to be a lot more parents and a lot more people filing, lawsuits like this. And that's going to backfire on Drake, Adin Ross, and Stake. I don't know how liable Drake and Adin Ross will be, but, if they got clear evidence that, hey, these people influenced my kid or, me to do this, different story, So I don't know. We'll see what happens moving forward. But, some of these lawsuits come and go. They don't really mean anything. Some impact, but we'll see. Here's some interesting updates with Eminem's publisher and Meta, the lawsuit that we've talked about probably a couple of years ago. So let's go over this article. Eminem's publishing company, 8 Mile Style, is currently gearing up for what could be an intense legal battle with Meta. All Hip Hop's exclusively reports that recently the company submitted a new filing. In it, the company alleges that the tech giant has used the rapper's catalog on Facebook, Instagram, and WhatsApp without proper licensing. Meta is one of the most valuable companies in the world, with teams of lawyers at the ready to crush any legitimate attempt at opposing many of egregious tactics it employs in pursuit of its limitless expansion, the filing alleges. Meta may effortlessly start and endure a war of attrition in order to force a smaller opposing party into submission. Richard Brush, a lawyer for 8 Mile Style, alleges. Meta objectively knew it did not have a license to exploit the 8 Mile compositions and was aware that it was providing infringing material on a massive scale, thereby culpably causing direct infringement by its users every time they copied, synced, downloaded, or streamed the 8 Mile compositions from its music libraries, which is deliberately placed there. 8 Mile Style first sued Meta earlier this year for alleged copyright infringement. The suit cites the allegedly unauthorized use of 243 of his compositions. Allegedly, those compositions have been used in millions of videos on social media. Per the lawsuit, Meta allegedly, see how many times they're using allegedly, accessed the music through a 2020 deal with the digital rights from Audium. Audium was allegedly unauthorized to license it. Meta's years-long and ongoing infringement in another case of a $1 trillion company exploiting the creative efforts of musical artists. The company alleged it's seeking monetary damages on top of permanent injunction against the use of M's music in the future. This affects me because I posted Dr. Dre and Eminem's Forgot About Dre surpassing 1 billion streams on Instagram. And I couldn't use Forgot About Dre because it involves Eminem. There's only a select few Eminem songs you can actually use on Instagram. So I had to use, what's the song, man? Still Dre with Snoop Dogg. And then people in the comments were like, don't you mean Still Dre? And I was like, no, I just can't use Eminem songs. I mean, there's a few select that you can actually use, which is interesting. Maybe they're not registered with this 8 Mile Style. I don't know. But it's very minimal Eminem songs that you can actually use on Instagram, on Facebook. That sucks because I make some really cool posts relating to Eminem sometimes, and I just can't use his music at all. So it's unfortunate, but it is what it is. That's the only way it affects me, but I don't really care other than that. This has nothing to do with the average person. Obviously, people want to use Eminem's music on social media, so they will eventually come to a deal and an agreement. It makes no sense not to, because every other artist in the world's music is on, Meta. So to exclude Eminem would have to be just the dumbest thing ever. So they're going to eventually come up to a deal. This lawsuit's going to go, they're going to talk to each other. Oh, let's do this settlement. This is what we want, blah, blah, blah. Meta's going to pay because Meta makes hundreds of billions of dollars like it's nothing. So, yeah, Eminem is not directly involved in this, by the way. They did clarify that. I think when the lawsuit first came out, it was clarified that Eminem has nothing to really do with this. It's, companies and shit like that. Don't point a finger at Eminem and be like, oh, you money greedy, Companies just do their thing because Eminem, at the end of the day, is a company. I know people view him as a rapper, but he is a business at the end of the day. That name Eminem is a business. It brings in money, it brings in revenue, it brings in views, it brings in attention, streams, whatever you want to call it. So that's very important, and Eminem and his team need to be compensated fairly for, using his material. So I have no issue with that. But yeah, we'll see what happens moving forward. Turk has been hit with a $12 million lawsuit. Yes, Turk, who got kicked out of the Cash Money tour and then threatened to sue Cash Money and, all the people that were involved and kick him off the tour and not paying him properly. So let's go over this. Turk recently exchanged some disses with Birdman over the Cash Money No Limit VERZUZ, adding to the long-standing label tension among the two, the Hot Boys and other Cash Money affiliates. Now this developed into a full-on legal battle, according to exclusive report from All Hip Hop. Promotion and touring agency Dope Shows Inc. reportedly sued the Hot Boy for $12 million in federal court for allegedly sabotaging the Cash Money Millionaire's 30th anniversary tour. Turk previously sued promoters and agents for allegedly unlawfully booting him from the tour after promising him more money than they were willing to pay him at the end of the day. However, Dope Shows' New York complaint on Wednesday, October 29th, accused him and his YNT Empire company of breaching his contract and sabotaging the tour via his lawsuit, defamation, and threats to folks such as fellow Hot Boy BG. In addition, they accused the New Orleans rapper of leaking confidential financial information, lying about them not being able to pay artists, and almost wrecking the tour. Despite desperate to revive his flagging rap career, Turk is attempting to sabotage the tour through childish and petulant antics that he hopes will regain the public's attention, Jeffrey reportedly wrote. Legally representing Dope Shows, Turk's publicity stunts are an abject failure as they have done nothing to advance his career. Rather, through his malicious and misguided actions, Turk has created nothing more than massive legal liability for himself in this lawsuit. As for why the dispute occurred, the promoters claim it was due to Turk's issues with BG, causing security risk and concerns from the latter's probation officer. At the end of the day, they chose to prioritize BG's star power over Turk's. Dope Shows also accused him of making false statements about their financial status in his Florida lawsuit over alleged violations of a New York form clause. They want $7 million for defamation damages, $5 million for breach of contract, and coverage of legal fees. The tour began in July of this year. Too much drama. However, Turk's claims about this tour are different. He claims that Dope Shows promised him a larger amount than they were ultimately willing to pay, and unrightfully axed him when he refused the pay cut. Interesting, man. Interesting lawsuits. We'll see who's in the right. This is going to take a long time. But, they're essentially countersuing and saying that we're calling your bluff. This is bullshit. This is not how things went. So who knows who's telling the truth? We'll see what happens moving forward. NBA YoungBoy is on pace to be in the top 10 of highest grossing rap tours. Yes, you heard that right. He is about to be in the top 10. Let's go over the article. NBA YoungBoy has been filling up arenas across the United States each and every night. Sometimes his Make America Slime Again tour has run into some problems and setbacks. Shows have been canceled due to safety reasons, and fans have gotten a little too rowdy, leading to violence, but people keep showing up, and it's got the Louisiana rapper on pace to achieve an honorable feat. So touring data reported the 26-year-old will more than likely finish inside the top 10 for highest grossing rap tours. He has a great chance to sell over 500,000 tickets, which equates to $70 million, and counting across 42 shows. It seems like adding those extra tour dates back in June was a smart move on the part of YB. If YoungBoy does achieve this, he will join exclusive company. Artists like Travis Scott and Kendrick Lamar immediately came to mind. Not bad for your first ever headlining tour. I think, what's the highest gross? Let me see. So they have to do an updated list, but he'll be beating out like old tours from Kendrick Lamar and I think Drake and Migos, the Three Amigos tour, I think. But Drake is like high up there. Kendrick Lamar, I know 50's in the top 5 with 105 million. So it's really Drake, Kendrick Lamar, Nicki Minaj, 50, and I don't know, I think other people. But regardless, I saw a funny comment when we posted about this on Instagram. And this is obviously a troll comment, but the person was like, he's doing more money than Eminem ever has on his tour. I mean, yeah, it's a troll comment. We get it. If Eminem toured, it would be really interesting, man. I think he should do at least one hoorah. Like, just say, hey, this is it. This is my final tour. Your chance to see me live. Like, that has to happen. Eminem has to do that at least once. Like, he owes the fans at least that. Because being a fan of Eminem, I was too young to go to his concerts. So I never got those fans that were 10 years old. Like, when Eminem was in his prime, I was 8. Actually, basically, you could say 2000 to 2000, because Eminem had like 2 runs. He was basically LeBron James, where he had these. Actually, LeBron had like 3 primes essentially, but he had like 2 big runs. Obviously, from 1999 till 2005, and then 2009 till whatever you want to say. So unfortunately, he's never really toured. When was the last time Eminem? Let me actually look this up. When was the last time Eminem went on a tour? Nah, he did the Monster Tour with Rihanna, which wasn't much shows, bro. It might have been 2005 with the Anger Management Tour. That might have been like the last like major tour he did. Yeah, he hasn't done a proper. Obviously, we know he hasn't done a proper tour since he came back. But yeah, I think if he did a proper tour, like he said, hey, I am going to go all across America, all across Europe, like how 50 did with the Final Lap, where he touched a lot of bases. Eminem could easily generate $500 million, like $500 million, no problem. I think he would generate more because Taylor Swift did like $1 billion. I think Eminem could do $1 billion on his tour. I think he should, man, because I want to see Eminem live. Like, I'm a moron because, listen, I had this great privilege and opportunity. 50's team was like, hey, if you want free tickets to go to Eminem, to go to 50 Cent, any 50 Cent concert, let me know. Like, he's touring around America, we'll give you free tickets, right? I usually don't give a shit about free tickets. It doesn't matter to me. I went to the New York one. It was free, but that was because, my friend Brian, we decided he had 2 free tickets. So I was like, why not go to that one? I could have just stayed in the Atlanta one, went to bought tickets, no problem. But, 50's team was like, yeah, you can go any concert you want with 50's. We'll give you free tickets, right? My dumbass, he was going to Michigan. Why didn't I just be like, he's going to bring out Eminem? Like, why not expect that? I should have said, hey, let me get like 2 tickets to Michigan and I'm going over there. And I'm a moron. I'm a genuine moron. And, he brought out Eminem there. That could have been my chance to see Eminem with 50. And I fucking blew it. I beat myself up every time. Like, that would have been a great. I think at the time, though, I was doing so much stuff. I was just busy. So I was like, man, I'm not really interested right now. I already went to the New York one. I could care less about, seeing 50 perform every fucking place. It's the same type of show, which it was a great show. I'm not saying anything about the show. It's just one time is more than enough for me. I don't need to see 50 perform, in multiple locations. Like, other fans, they'll travel state to state, seeing a rapper perform. I could care less. One time is more than enough, and it's cool. So I fucked up on that. So I hope Eminem actually decides to do a tour. This conversation went way left. We're talking about NBA YoungBoy, but round of applause for NBA YoungBoy. $70 million. He's going to be in the top 10. I think he beats the Drake and Migos, Three Amigos tour, and I think he beats a Kendrick one or something that like grossed 55 million or 60 million. So he will be in the top 10. He'll be like at number 8 or number 9 or number 10, somewhere around there. But still, man, this guy has managed to rebrand himself and make himself more mainstream. And I think a lot of that has to do with Birdman getting his hands with NBA YoungBoy and teaching him that, like, hey, we got to rebrand you. We got to push you as somebody that's safe for people to go to concerts to, because obviously there's been violence that's been happening. Someone who you can go to his concerts and not have to worry about, anything popping off. But round of applause to him, man. Well deserved. He's been on the grind for a while. So for the newer generation, they really appreciate him. So he's doing the numbers he's supposed to do. Updates on the Freddie Gibbs and Benny the Butcher beef, and it is back on because Benny decides to diss him. So let's go over the article. For years now, hip-hop fans have been calling out Freddie Gibbs and Benny the Butcher for their petty and bombastic beef while pleading for a reconciled link-up in the booth. It doesn't seem like that's likely at all, sadly, but it's not like every great rapper has to get along. Also, there certainly aren't ignoring each other's direct lyrical digs and more subliminal disses, even responding in kind. So those looking for bars will definitely find them. Following the release of Gibbs' Alfredo 2, it was the Butcher's turn, and he threw shots right back on Free Rollies, a new collaboration with Westside Gunn off of Gunn's project Heels Have Eyes 3. He said this: even in airports, rappers get checked like customs. They provoke me, and then y'all quote me. Low-key, y'all should blame them boys that woke me. When I put another rapper head on a shelf like a trophy, dark-skinned, bald head, mama's boy, y'all are Jodies. Good looks on all that free promotion, and thanks for that rollie. Benny rapped on the cut. The Indiana MC responded to Buffalo's Spitter via a series of Instagram stories on Friday, October 31st. Only one of them, though, is indistinguishably direct. About to run to Walmart. Let me know if y'all need something. He captioned a screenshot of Walmart location in Houston, Texas, and the Apple Maps. For those unaware, Benny the Butcher was shot during an attempted robbery back there in 2020, which Freddie Gibbs obviously clowned him for. Yeah, so it's back on. They're sending bars at each other. Benny definitely spit some shit on there, but of course, Freddie is going to troll and respond. I'm sure he's going to have bars towards him again in a different project, but that's what it is, man. I thought this thing would get squashed eventually, but it's not. So that's the update on their issues. Royce the 5'9", man. I got some bad news relating to Royce the 5'9". Rolling Stone did an article on Big L's new album and the people that were involved in making the album, and Royce the 5'9" is an executive producer on the album. He had a really interesting role of just making sure things went smooth and putting pieces together. So if you guys ever want to check out that article, it is by Andre G., who is a beast in writing these articles when it comes to Rolling Stone. So check it out. It is called Harlem's Finest Aims to Affirm Big L's Place Among Rap Greats. So I will be reviewing Big L's album on the next podcast episode, and I will be going over this a little bit more in detail. But there is an interesting part that caught a lot of people's attention throughout this whole article. One, the thing that caught my attention was obviously Big L's estate had to get a lot of things in order for this album to release. It was in the works for 7 to 8 years. So that is very interesting. There's a lot of stuff that happens behind the scenes that we don't know about, and this really deep dives into that. So that's why the article is very interesting. But the second thing is Royce revealed he had a health problem, and that's prevented him from recording music and from even speaking. So let's go over this. Royce revealed that for the past several years, he's been dealing with a lingual dystonia, a neurological condition where he says there's some kind of interruption in the nerve firing off in my tongue, causing spasms that hindered him from talking and recording music. That's crazy. My cranial nerves and my vagus nerve were all inflamed. Vagus nerve, I hope I'm pronouncing that right. We're all inflamed. I got a genetic condition called COMT gene that processes dopamine slower than normal, he explains. And when I did a neurochemistry test, I found out that the left hemisphere of my brain produces less dopamine than the right. So not only is it less dopamine, but it's in an imbalance as well. When your dopamine is low, it's like Parkinson's, ADHD. I had an involuntary movements in my face and in my tongue, so they went on this long thing where they would put me on all different kinds of medicines, he says. He went through several improper diagnoses, but he's almost through it, and he started recording again. He said, I wish I was recording when we were doing this album. He's talking about Big L's album, obviously. Even without a verse on the project, Royce helped craft an album that he and Herard are proud of. After almost an hour of detailing the tedious project of craft and Return of the King, Herard says he wants more artists to prioritize their affairs to prevent some of the headaches that Big L's family has gone through. He said, I want everybody who's an artist that reads this to get a trust. I want them to get life insurance policies, and I want them to have a will. That's what I want for you, and I love you. So very, very cool. Shout out to them for making this project happen. Like I said, I will be reviewing it on the next podcast episode. Right now, I'm doing the Lloyd Banks one. Yeah, man. Did not know that about Royce 5'9", and shout out to him for being vulnerable and revealing that to us. I hope he is feeling better. I hope he gets better, and I hope he can get back in the booth doing what he loves. But crazy, man. You never know what someone's going through behind the scenes and keeping it low key. But hey, at least he's doing better now. That's good news. So I hope he continues to improve and, just relaxes, man. Don't stress out too much, Royce. You solidify your spot as one of the best lyrical rappers out there. And, getting a new project from you would be dope, but your health is more important than that. So, hopefully everything goes well and, you're back to doing what you love. So shout out to you for also contributing to this Big L project. I'm sure that took a lot of effort, especially with all the stuff you're going through with your health. So yeah, we'll see what happens moving forward. Time to address the game basically being really upset about me making a post about his album sales not being updated. Before we get into his comment, I want to explain what I've been doing when it comes to these posts of, revealing artists not having their sales being updated, right? So I started with Dr. Dre, got to Snoop Dogg, did The Game, then did DMX, and I just recently did Kendrick Lamar. And then I want to, obviously I'm going to do a lot more other artists because there's a lot of artists that don't have their certifications updated. But I initially started this as, one, there's really no content like this on social media. So I like to do things that nobody else is doing, and there is no content like this when it comes to seeing older artists and their certifications not being updated. Now, there is content of, album sales and who's doing this and that, but old artists that are not getting their stuff updated, there is no content on that. So I realized, okay, this is a lane that nobody's, even cared to look at. So let me deep dive into this. Let me see what's going on. So I decided, okay, this is something. Usually when I get into anything, social media, YouTube, whatever I'm doing with documentaries, I usually like to do things that nobody else is doing. I like to bring something fresh, something new to hip hop and to, just in general content, consuming, because a lot of it's copy and paste and it's, just garbage that a lot of people post. Unfortunately, they don't take really much effort. They just post whatever. I started doing this because nobody else was talking about this. So I was like, let me talk about this. I think it's interesting because, a lot of artists get praised for their album sales, but a lot of artists, people that you remember, don't have theirs updated. So that's how it initially started. Then I took a deeper look. After I did the Dr. Dre one, I was like, man, who updates these? Like, what's going on? I knew previously because I had asked Sha Money XL, and when I dropped the Sha Money XL interview, which is coming like very soon here, probably in a day or two, I did ask him about who updates that, and he made it very clear it's the labels that update it. It has nothing to do with the artist, right? The artist could obviously be like, hey, tell the label, hey, could you guys like update my RIAAs and maybe, I get some certifications? They could do that, but most artists don't really give a shit about their sales like that. They just care about the music they're making, and that's it. Majority of them, right? And rightfully so. Artists focus on the art, labels focus on the business side of things. I then looked deeper into it, and I was like, man, there has to be a reason why some of these artists aren't getting updated. And everything points to labels not wanting to pay their artists properly for the stuff that they've done, the sales that they've done. So at the end of the day, you got to look at it like this, right? If I'm a record label and I have all these artists signed, and these artists don't know about how they can get access to their sales. They just know that they're getting checks, and that's it. So you're just basically feeding somebody enough to where they don't question you. And that can make an artist comfortable. Some artists are filthy rich. If money gets stolen from them, they probably ever don't even notice, like Drake or whatever, regardless. Like those are top tier artists. But there are artists out here that generally don't know that they're getting robbed. Or that their estate, because some artists are dead and their estate's getting robbed. These labels, in order for them to get RIAA certifications for these artists, they have to submit numbers. So they have to be open and say, hey, these are the sales of this album. They have to prove it. And then the RIAA has an audit that goes on where they vet and see, are these the actual sales? And if it gets approved, okay, then you get the certification, and now your album's double platinum, diamond, whatever the case may be, gold. I thought about this more, and I was like, why would labels update their sales? Why would they? That just gets the artist to question more and say, oh, I actually did, double platinum I was in 2005. Oh, now my album's 6 times platinum in 2025. Well, then where's that 4 million in sales? Am I getting the proper money from this? And what that does is that prompts artists to audit the label. And a lot of artists do not know about auditing. They don't care. They're not in the business of worrying about that stuff. They just care about their art, and as long as they're getting paid enough to make their art or to live their life comfortably, they could care less. So then after I was doing the first one, I was like, man, this is a deeper thing where artists aren't properly getting their flowers, because a lot of these artists, they have amazing sales that just haven't been updated. Like when I did the Snoop Dogg one, I knew, here's the thing, Snoop Dogg understood what I was going for. He understood. He saw me posting that Snoop Dogg sales haven't been updated, and he knows record labels are not transparent in what artists are doing in numbers at all. And he's talked about that in various interviews. So he immediately collaborated with me, and the post went crazy. It's got like 5 million views now. So he understood what I was getting at. He read the caption, I'm pretty sure, and he saw the post that, hey, like my album from 1993 hasn't been updated in sales. Despite him probably getting statements and getting some type of payment from his album, he's probably not getting clear, statements and clear sales of what he's done throughout all these years. So Snoop Dogg automatically understood it, collaborated with me on the post. It did amazing, and people started questioning, what is going on? Why aren't these sales getting updated? I just want to shed a light on that. That's what I'm doing with these posts now. Now it's a deeper meaning into what I'm doing. It's not just like, oh, I want to get these artists' sales updated because, I want to have bragging rights about an artist that I like, whatever. That's surface level stuff. Cool. It would have been cool to get Dr. Dre's updated. You got 2 diamond albums for what I think, and Snoop Dogg's got a diamond album. It would be cool to get them updated for debating purposes, but it's more important for the artists to get their flowers and their just due and their proper compensation for their hard work. I created this whole thing to shed light on artists not getting their proper just due, their flowers, and their sales. And ultimately, their money, what they're compensating, their compensation. I'm like, okay, who's the next artist I want to do? I do the Game. And I'm like, Game's been, he's interacted with my page, multiple times. We've messaged on DMs. So I'm like, Game would definitely see this and approve it. Why wouldn't he? Like, this is, clear that he would enjoy this. Makes sense. So I make the Game one, and I have a prediction of the documentary. So last time the documentary's first album was updated was in March of 2005. So literally like 2 weeks after his album came out, or 2 months after his album came out. And it's double platinum. The end of that year, by November, ended up doing like 2.5 million. So you got to think from 2005 till now, the album, I did a high prediction of 8 times platinum, which is 8 million sold. I kind of take that back because I forgot to look at 50 Cent's masker sales. But that's a whole different, discussion. I think it's anywhere from 5 to 8 times platinum, somewhere around there, right? So regardless, it's up in sales, which is a good thing. And then I put Doctor's Advocate. I put all his albums, majority of his albums that I could find statistics on. And I'm thinking, okay, Game is going to, why wouldn't Game like this, right? It makes sense. Like, hey, I'm not getting my proper flowers for the work that I've done. I could have double platinum, triple platinum albums, but nothing's being, shown. He only has one album that is RIAA certified, and it's his first album. He doesn't have his second album, his third album, fourth album, nothing. So I would assume Game would be upset, at his sales not being updated. But I get the complete opposite, man. And I don't know if this is directed towards me, Game. Let me know. He says this: Game don't care about no certification. Game been rich 20 years, moved his mama out the hood, and put his oldest son through college. Y'all just be on here talking. Fuck an album sale. Get some money and shut up. I don't know if you're talking towards me, Game. I think you probably, I'm going to take it as this. You saw the comments, didn't like what people are saying because I'm going to be completely honest. Most of my fan base is G-Unit 50 Cent. So, of course, they're going to troll you. They're going to attack you. They're going to say whatever they want to say, right? Me, I'm a fan of everything G-Unit, every artist that was ever a part of it. I do have a little bit of resentment towards you for, kind of destroying what G-Unit was and the momentum that they had, but that was when I was a kid. I'm a grown-ass man now. I love your music. I know your music better than anyone, period. Any interviewer that's ever interviewed you, I know your catalog better than any interviewer that's ever interviewed you. I know your music. I respect it. I stream it. I made a whole documentary on your second album, Doctor's Advocate, and showed you love for figuring things out on your own on that album, not having to rely on Dre and on 50 and doing your thing. I think your second album is probably better than your first one. I go back and forth on it, but I really enjoy your second album, sometimes way more than your first and your other albums. I do love your Red album the most, but regardless, I say this to say I didn't mean no disrespect with my post. I just wanted to highlight, like I said earlier, that labels aren't giving you your just due. Snoop Dogg understood that. That's why he collaborated with the post on me. Snoop Dogg understood what I was getting at. These artists aren't updating your sales properly, which means you're not getting your just due, your flowers, which you might not care. You'd be like, oh, who cares about album sales? I make music for the love of it. I understand that aspect of it. I have no issue with that. The other side of things, though, is these labels aren't reporting the accurate numbers to you. They could be lying to you. If you are getting a statement about the documentary and what it's bringing you every 4 months in sales, how do you know that that's the real numbers? You don't, because you haven't performed an audit of Interscope Records, of whatever other labels you were part of. I think E1 at one point you were a part of. So I know you switched at least to 2 labels, maybe 3, because you went independent for some time. So you might not be with a label, but I know with Interscope Records, you had at least 5 albums with them. I think Documentary, Doctor's Advocate, LAX, Red Album, and Jesus Peace. So I could be wrong, but 5 albums with them. So why not perform an audit? Audit them and say, hey, I want to see what my sales are. And then once they finally bring that to you after an audit is done, which takes quite a bit of time, then you will know your accurate sales. And then you could, if you want to submit it to RIAA, say the label, hey, submit it. They got to pay for it, obviously. I don't know how much the money is for each submission, but they pay for it and you get your stuff updated. If you don't care about that aspect of it, audit them at least to see what your accurate sales are, to see if you're getting properly compensated. And here's why I'm saying this, because there are 2 examples of an artist auditing their label and making a lot of money because of that, because they were hiding money from the artist. Why would the label give you every penny you're owed? Why would they? Doesn't make any sense. They will just keep it for themselves. If you don't know about it, why give them the money? Let me play you a clip, Game, or just people that are watching this in general. Let me play you a clip of why you should audit your record label.
The state of the music industry is designed to rip off an artist. That's what I believe. I believe that when the check gets handed to an artist, the check is normally not right. The first person that told me this was Nelly. Nelly told me, you got to learn how to do this thing called an audit. And I was like, what is that? And then he was like, man, you got to get a lawyer. And so I searched, I found Jay-Z's auditor, right? And then this guy went and said, I'll do it for, you know, I'm not going to charge you up front. I'm going to take a piece. And I was like, okay. So he goes and he finds over $600,000 that the label hid from me. So I was like, wait a second. Is this the way it always is? He's like, yeah, you got to keep on doing this. So I realized all my peers didn't know this, that, you know, I got into the music industry and thought that when you have a song that's #1, that it just goes magically because your song's good. It's paid. Like, payola is not supposed to be like a thing, but it's real. Like, I had to pay a lot of money to get my record to #1. And I started looking at the music industry differently, and all of my peers, I started focusing more on equity, right? I wasn't the guy that was going out and trying to chase a piece of a show that somebody's gonna pay me $10,000 to do. I wanted to get a piece of the actual thing that was holding these buildings up. So I realized all these guys weren't thinking like that. And the way I got off of Universal when they didn't want to let me go is I told them, if you don't let me go, I'm gonna go teach all these guys on the label how to do an audit. And they let me go because of that. They didn't want to pay all that money.
There you go, game. Chameleonaire said, I audited my record label thanks to Nelly telling me, and I found $600,000 missing that the label hid from him. Now, no disrespect to Chameleonaire. He's one of my favorite artists of all time, by the way. But you've made more money than Chameleonaire because your albums have sold more. You're about to reach, Hater Love is about to reach 1 billion streams. You're out here you've done crazy numbers. Now imagine how much money the label is hiding you. That's the point of these posts, guys. That's the bigger picture here. It started with some simple, sales. And then as I look deeper into this, labels are just hiding money from artists. And I'm here posting, exposing it, using my platform on Instagram that I have almost 270,000 followers, and now posting on YouTube with the main YouTube channel I'm going to be posting this on, which is 715,000 subscribers, and posting on Facebook, posting on every other platform that I have views on. And I'm explaining that, game, audit your label. Snoop Dogg understands. I hope he starts to audit his label. Look at Nelly. So Nelly's the one that told Chameleonaire this advice. And right now, if you go on the RIAA website, Nelly's certifications have been updated for 2025. Right now, you can see a bunch of certifications. Right now, June 2025 was his last updated certifications. Why? Because he audits his label probably every 3 to 4 years. Drake does it. Every artist that's getting their certifications updated frequently does it. And unfortunately, some people just don't care, or they don't know this. Now, that's not to say I posted a Nas one where certifications were updated in a long time. That's not to say that Nas doesn't know to audit. I would be genuinely surprised. He's well aware of that stuff. But some albums don't sell. Sometimes it's harder to find numbers. Sometimes audits take a little bit while for certain projects. I'm sure each audit has to be for each project to figure out what are the numbers, what are the sales, how much money's missing, blah, blah, blah. And then some albums just haven't been updated because they haven't reached, like, no disrespect, but maybe Nostradamus from 1999 until 2025 didn't go double platinum. Maybe only sold another 500,000, and that doesn't reach double platinum status. So we don't know the whole. I'm not here speaking like I know behind the scenes and I know everything. But I'm saying take a look at that because there has to be some type of updates going on. So I meant no disrespect to Game. I'm upset he took it that way. It makes no sense. I hope it's, he just wasn't thinking or just saw the first slide and was like, fuck this guy because he's clowning me. I don't know. But that's a perfect example. And here's another example, Game. And this is a guy you are very familiar with.
In the music business, I was in the business portion of music for 4 years. Because it was my 5th and final album requirement for Interscope, we was in a position where we would have to do audits and go through the books and everything. And then there was conflicts in different areas. Like my album, Get Rich or Die Trying, is the largest debut in hip-hop album. And the way we sold ringtones at that point is exactly how we sell the single. So the language and the contracts spoke to the same light, and the way I would be paid off a ringtone, if I argued that that was the way I was to be paid off of the singles, would mean that they owed me like another $23 million maybe.
Oh.
You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So we went through that process, and it took for 4 years actually. It took a while for us to get through it, and then I was paid and then everything was comfortably. We resumed back to making music.
You know that voice. It's 50 Cent. He audited Interscope. Took 4 years, he said, potentially 5. So it takes a long time to audit because you got to go through a lot of different stuff, different albums. And he got compensated $23 million that was just disappearing. $23 million just in thin air where they owed him money. You see what I'm saying? If Chameleon got $600,000, 50 Cent, who's on a whole different level, got $23 million, you maybe could get $6 to $10 million. Maybe deal with that lawsuit that you have and make way more money. So that was the gist of that post. And I really don't know how anybody can misinterpret that. I hope the other artists I tag and I post about understand where I'm coming from, because I will be posting this response to every platform so people can understand where I'm coming from in doing this. As I make content in the hip hop world, I've always done it to make hip hop a better place, to help producers, engineers, artists to shed light on everything. I remember when I called out French Montana for not even knowing the producer's name of his biggest song, Unforgettable. And that producer DM'd me and was like, thank you. And French Montana ended up blocking me because of that, because everybody gave him backlash for that. So I'm all for giving everybody their flowers. That's why I made that Give Rich or Die Trying documentary where I talked to all the engineers, producers. I talked to as much people as I could behind the scenes to give them the respect and their flowers. And that's exactly what I was doing with the Game. Snoop Dogg understood it. Game didn't, unfortunately. So Game, I am reaching out to you. If you would like to do an interview with me, that would be amazing. Like I said, I know your catalog better than everybody else. I think we could have a really, really cool interview. And I would be asking questions that nobody's ever asked you before, which would be interesting. It would be something that, you've never done before. So that is my reaching out to you, and I hope you accept that. I hope you understand where I'm coming from with that post. And yeah, I just wanted to address it, talk about it, explain to people a little bit more about why I'm doing these posts. Like I said, it's not to belittle the artist, because literally in the post, I'm predicting that they're selling way more. And it's a cool thing for people to see, man, because a lot of people make assumptions about certain artists and they don't really know what's going on. So it's another thing to kind of, get people more aware of, especially RIAA. A lot of people don't know that's United States only. It's not, the whole world. So I've had people, comment, oh, what about this album? It's supposed to be diamond already. Or I had somebody just recently comment, Game's documentary is actually 5 million sold. And I'm like, that's worldwide sales. That's not in the United States. So, yeah, that's it with that. I just felt like addressing it, and, hope Game sees this and understands that it's not coming from a place of malice or disrespect. Time to get into this album or mixtape or whatever you want to call it, project review of Lloyd Banks' Halloween Havoc 6, the 6 of Swords. Swords. I'm terrible at saying that word. Swords. There you go. So let's go over it. Let me actually kind of go over my process of how I do album reviews, because I haven't done one in a while on the podcast. So the way I do album reviews is I have best tracks, which is the good tracks, the bad tracks, and then I have the neutral tracks. So obviously the best tracks are my favorite on the album. Bad tracks, the ones I don't like. And then the neutral are the ones where I've noticed that, I've sat with this album for 3 days, but with these tracks, I've been like enjoying them, kind of like not really caring about them, kind of enjoying them. So I've noticed that as the months go on, sometimes when I'm listening to a project, I'll listen to certain tracks that I have in the neutral a lot more, and they end up becoming on my best tracks. And then eventually they become on my bad tracks, or I just don't care about them. But right now, there's some tracks on the neutral, actually quite a few, because I'm kind of like on the fence on some of these tracks. But overall, I really enjoyed the project. So let's go over track by track what I think about for this project for the most part. First track is Addition by Subtraction by Cartoon Beats. Shout out to him. I enjoy this track. Great intro to the project. It just made things a great ease into what this project's going to be about. Enjoy the production. No hook from what I heard, if I could remember correctly. Really, really short 2-minute track. Great introduction. Eat What You Killed. Shout out to Mr. Authentic, produced this. Great record. Love this beat too. Killed it. Nothing that I can complain about. Enjoy this track as well. The next track, Book of Records. Another track. Shout out to Mr. Authentic. This one had a really gritty beat, which I enjoyed. Subject matter is there. The hook is interesting. So really cool. Enjoyed that track as well. If Time Permits, this was the first track that I had on the neutral. it didn't really have a big impression on me. Not to say that it's a bad track, but I just kind of, I listened to it a few times. I remember as I was going these 2-3 days, I would go back to it, but I really want to go back to it often, So that's the first track I had on the neutral tracks. Haddonfield, I'm pronouncing that right, Haddonfield. George Jetson produced this. Shout out to him. Great track. Like I said, it's in my best tracks. I enjoyed it. I kept going back to it. The next track, Supposed to Be. This track I had on the neutral as well. In between on how I feel about it, but it's still, not in the bad section. I think it might end up going that way, but I still enjoyed it. I still have to listen to it a little bit more to kind of get more of a gauge of what I feel about it, but it's in the neutral. It's not bad. It's not good. Die Slow. This track, very different sound. I love the production. Shout out to the Germ. Very different sound from the rest of the tracks. Sounds more fresh, more modern, because I think it has that 808 snare or whatever. I'm terrible at pronouncing the right things that producers use, but it has more of a modern sound to it, which I always enjoy from Lloyd Banks. I've always enjoyed the Cold Corner 2 type of sound, the more modern, fresh sound, which I hope he eventually goes to, just to feed that side of things, because he's stuck to this more New York gritty sound for a while. So I would like the next project, I would like a change of pace, something more modern, more fresh with more modern artists. That'd be really cool. But regardless, this Die Slow, I love the melodic hook. It's a different sound from Banks. So I really enjoyed this track a lot, actually. It's probably one of my favorites on the album. Save a Spot. Fruition produced this. This got me very emotional because my dad died earlier this year of lung cancer, stage 4 lung cancer. And this is talking about, losing a loved one. And the bars that really hit me was dreamt about you, went back to sleep as fast as I can. Like, man, come back to me if you can. And that really hit me, and I'm getting a little bit emotional just talking about it right now. That really hit me because, I've had dreams of my dad since he's passed, and it does hit you a different way, man. It's something that it's a weird, interesting feeling. It's like the person's trying to talk to you through dreams sometimes, and when he said that, I could really, 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 it was like, damn, like I had to rewind that a few times. So this is, to me, I think the best track on the album. I know I said that about the Die Slow, but this definitely, when Banks get in this bag of more personal, way deep storytelling, it's something that really I haven't heard from artists in a long time, and I really enjoy it from Banks, man. He also said another bar that I really liked is, when I feel like I'm losing my way, I just use your memory. Because that's the same thing I do. There are moments where I'm like, man, I just don't, the grief, the sadness hits me, and I'm like, man, my dad would have never allowed me to be like this. He would have been like, man, get up off your ass and do your thing. Don't stop your life because I'm gone. So that hit me differently as well. But yeah, man, talking about this is getting me in a different, emotion with it. But I really love this track, man. Really, really dope track. It hits you differently when you're hearing this type of stuff, man, from an artist that you really respect and enjoy as well. So my favorite track on the project. So check that out. If you're listening to this project, go ahead and check that out. It's my favorite. Number 9, Made a Fool of Me. A track that's on the neutral tracks. I didn't really enjoy it that much. Didn't really dislike it. It's in the middle. Don't really know what to think about it right now, but over time, I'll probably make a solid decision. Changed Up is the next track, another neutral track where I was like, it's good. This is more where I lean on the good side, but I was like, I don't know. I didn't really go back to it a lot often. So it might just be, sometimes I have tracks where I listen to them, I enjoy them for that one time, and I think it's a good track, but it doesn't have replay value for me. And sometimes that happens. There's nothing wrong with that. It's just replay value isn't there. It's not the right moment to be listening to it. Like Save a Spot, where you talk about someone close to you dying. You're not going to listen to that every day. It's not going to have this insane replay value. You're going to listen to it when you're grieving, or you're having moments where you're thinking about your loved one. Maybe that's the right track to listen to, and it'll help you too. So some of these tracks, it depends on the mood, the moment. So that also plays a huge role. Going down the eye test, I really enjoy this. Haas Alamid produced this as well. I love this bar, by the way. They say the best ability is availability, but being too available, people will use you willingly. Perfectly said by Banks, of course. as always, great track. Love the production, love the hook, love everything about the track. Next, It Ain't Going Well. This track was another one where I was like, I'm on the fence with. Not a good track, not a bad track. Not a good track. I said that twice. Not a bad track, but also a good track. And, it's on there for me. We'll see as, the days go on and what I decide on that. But usually when these tracks are the neutral tracks, for the most part, they'll go on the good track side. They might go on the bad. I think 2 out of these will go on the bad side. But for the most part, 5 neutral tracks ain't that bad. And then I got 1 bad track and then 10 good tracks. Going next, Talk About It a lot. I love this hook, man. It just got stuck in my head. Very, very catchy hook. So I just kept replaying it because sometimes when a hook gets stuck in your head, it's just, and obviously he's spitting some real shit. So really, really dope. Love that track. The next one is Father Forgive. This is actually the only bad track on the whole project. I just didn't enjoy it. I could care less about it. That's how I felt about it. It just, didn't really have anything that really stuck with me that was really enjoyable. The beat, I really didn't enjoy. Delivery, the flow, hook, all that, just didn't really enjoy it. So that was the only bad track for me where I listened to it twice and I just never went back to it. I always give a track, a second chance. Maybe it's the mood I'm in, maybe it's the area. So I give it another second chance. But if I'm not rocking with the second chance, I usually just never really listen to it again. But not a big deal. 1 track is not that big of a deal. Happy Eyes, Lie People. This track is arguably the second or third best track on the project. I would say Save a Spot is the best one, then Die Slow, then this. Or I could switch Die Slow and Happy Eyes with this in terms of second and third spots. But definitely Save a Spot is the best one. Then it goes Happy Eyes or Die Slow. Happy Eyes, Lie People, amazing storytelling, especially that third verse, that storytelling on that where the person ends up hanging themselves. Crazy. Banks really can get in this bag where, only a few select artists can really tap into that. And that's why I really enjoy Banks, because he can tap into different bags and he's very creative in how he does it. And on top of that, you get a delivery that is, very rare. You don't really hear it often from artists. And it's hard to explain, man. I wish I had bigger words, how journalists be using these achromatic and he was, I don't have these big words to really explain. I just really enjoy the fucking track. Storytelling is out the wazoo. I don't know if anybody uses the word wazoo anymore. That's like the most old term ever, but just dope as fuck, man. So I really, really enjoy that track. Storytelling is insane. So that's another one that if you want to check out this project, go to that. And then the last track, What's Your Purpose? Another dope ass track. Love the way this track ended out too. Thank you, Banks, as always, for everything that you do musically, that you're doing for the fans, for the people. You do what you want to do, what you love, and it resonates through everybody. So overall, like I said, 10 good tracks, 1 bad track, and then 5 neutral tracks. I give the rating on this project 7.5 out of 10. Great project, way above average at 7.5. Average would be 5 out of 10, way above average at 7.5. I enjoyed the project. Production was there. I think the production in the future, though, could use a little bit more of, switcheroo or something sounding a little bit more different, because some of the production really melts together, and it's sounding a lot of the same stuff. So the production could use a little bit of difference in changing, because AON 3 to this, there's a lot of songs that sound the same. It's because he's using the same producers. Nothing, towards them. No bad thing about them. They're great producers. It's just sometimes artists need to change their sound up a little bit. So that on the production side, I love the production, but as well in the next project, I hope we get something different, more new sound that we get, new refreshing sound. But yeah, top tracks: Save a Spot, Happy Eyes, Lie People, Die Slow, Eat What You Kill, and Book of Records. I think those are it for me. Those are the top 5 tracks of the project. 7.5 out of 10. That's my thoughts on the project. Let me know what you guys think of it, man. But I really enjoyed it. I think Banks needs to get his props for being one of the best, if not the best artist after the pandemic, because he's been delivering projects, 2, sometimes 3 projects a year. I could be wrong about 3 projects a year, but he's been delivering, at least this year, he delivered 3, because he delivered AON 3, he delivered the freestyle one, which was like an exclusive for people that bought his merch. And then this one. So 3 projects this year alone. AON 3, to me, is still deserving for Album of the Year. It's obviously competing with Clips for me, but other than that, it is definitely a deserving album of the year. So round of applause to Lloyd Banks, man. Give him his just due, his flowers. I think he deserves it. And on this project, no features. Just held it on his own, 16 tracks, and it was thoroughly entertaining throughout the whole project, which is really great. But yeah, next project, Banks, please get to that HFM3 or CC3 sound. I would really enjoy that. I think that's the next step that he should take, because this sound he's been doing for the past 5 years now, which is great. No complaints from me. A lot of the projects actually turn out to be some of the best ever that he's done. But, nothing wrong with switching up. Nothing wrong with working with different, newer artists. I know he asked that on Twitter a lot, so that's my take on it. I think he should work with some newer generation artists, get some new flow, new style, new something flowing in there, new energy, because when you get these newer artists, they bring some type of different energy, which makes Banks then get, sometimes you just feed off energy and it turns out to be really dope. So, and Banks is very good at adapting to sounds. That's no issue for him. You can go from a modern sound to old school to whatever in between. He's always been, that's why I've always praised him, because in G Unit, he was the only one that was like the one that could just jump around and, still sound really great on everything. Other artists kind of had difficult time adjusting, but, not everybody is as gifted, as some artists. So shout out to Banks, man. Thank you again for this project. Loved it. Can't wait for the next one, as always. But yeah, you gave us 3 projects this year, more than enough. Next year, I definitely want to see something like HFM3 or CC3, get more of a artists that, are more modern of today's time. I would like to, there's a lot of artists that I mentioned, but Banks could definitely, there's a lot of artists that respect him that would definitely do features with him. So yeah, that's my take on it. 7.5 out of 10. Great project. Go ahead and check it out. Let's get into New Music Friday. Kodak Black dropped Just Getting Started, the album. Offset dropped Haunted by Fame, the album. Big L dropped Harlem's Finest, Rise of the Forgotten King album. Of course, Lloyd Banks dropped Halloween Havoc 4, which I just got done reviewing. Ken Carson dropped Pint of Red. DJ Premier and Ransom dropped the Reinvention album as well. Westside Gun dropped Heels Have Eyes 3. Damn, a lot of albums came out. I Swear VERZUZ dropped the Purple Passion album. Wale dropped City on Fire. And that's it in terms of projects. Wow, a lot of projects came out. Album sales. Taylor Swift is still number 1 with The Life of a Showgirl at 143,000 sold. Number 2 is K-Pop Demon Hunters, the soundtrack, at 85,000 sold. Number 3 is Morgan Wallen, I'm the Problem, with 75,000 sold. Number 4 debut is Daniel Caesar, son of Spurgey, with 44,000 sold. Number 5 is Sabrina Carpenter, Man's Best Friend, with 41,000 sold. Number 6 is Olivia Dean, The Art of Loving, with 38,000 sold. Number 7 debut is Brandy Carlisle, Returning to Myself, with 36,000 sold. Number 8 is Cardi B, Am I the Drama, with 32,000 sold. Number 9 debut is Demi Lovato, It's Not That Deep, with 30,000 sold. And number 10 is SZA, SOS, with 30,000 sold. Going down the list, NBA YoungBoy at number 20 with Massa, 20,000 sold. Drake, Take Care at number 21 with 20,000 sold. Party Next Door and Drake, Some Sexy Songs for You at number 27 with 17,000 sold. Gunna, The Last One at number 30 with 16,000 sold. Michael Jackson's Thriller up to number 33 with 16,000 sold. Kendrick Lamar, GNX, number 36 with 15,000 sold. Eminem, Curtain Call, number 40 with 14,000 sold. Playboy Cardi, Music, number 46 with 13,000 sold. BX The Plug, Hope You're Happy, number 47 with 13,000 sold. And Drake, Views at number 49 with 13,000 sold. Man, Drake's doing numbers regardless. Crazy. But yeah, that's it for today's episode of the Diverse Mentality Podcast. Stream us, Spotify, Deezer, Podcast, YouTube, all that. Have an amazing night, day, whenever this is. Peace.